Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Mark.
And this is Mel.
And this is
Therapy Unfiltered.
Woohoo.
Woo!
Yes, we are back.
Episode 3, Avoidant Attachment. That's the topic for today that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one because so often the focus is on kind of how avoidant people or people who lean avoidant are like the bad actors in relationships. And I really kind of want to shine a light on the context behind that behavior and not just vilifying it.
Yeah, I think if we understand them better, I think we will have more empathy. And even maybe if you find yourself dating an avoidant or identify as an avoidant, you can use the tools and tips that we use and we talk about here.
Definitely.
And to help you navigate situations like that, because anyone can fall into this. It's not, doesn't just categorize one person.
It's like you're very rarely is a person all avoidant or all anxious.
Right.
You can kind of vacillate between the two.
Right. What we spoke about on our last podcast, it's not like boxes. It's a lot of fluidity. So if things identify with you, take these tips and help your relationships and help not only your intimate ones, but your friends and family and other people around you. Yeah.
And with more understanding, you can kind of find more empathy for yourself, but also for others. And it helps to sort of depersonalize a little bit when someone's mistreating you, not to excuse the behavior, but just to kind of place the onus on the other person rather than going, oh, I led them to avoid me.
Yeah. And I know that we all get very angry when we find ourselves in those situations, especially if someone is not approaching us with closeness that we would want to. We find ourselves like, oh, this is an awful situation, or
just constantly analyzing the other person, right, trying to figure them out. And a lot of times it's a waste of energy.
Right. And it takes away from you loving other people when you're so angry at someone else because of the way they're behaving. So I think we should just kind of a little bit recap what is an avoidant, what it kind of looks like, maybe talk about some statements that maybe an avoidant would say.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Mark, kind of just lay it out.
I think that I guess at least my working definition of avoidance is a fear of intimacy in relationship to another. And doing whatever it is that person can do in that moment to guard themselves, to shield themselves off from criticism, from maybe fear of abandonment. There's many different kind of ways in which people protect themselves. And I think that, saying, I'm too busy can be one way.
Yeah.
Or maybe minimizing the other person and saying, like, you're just too emotional right now.
Or like, oh, I don't want to talk about something that might happen in 2 weeks. Like, that seems really far away.
Not willing to make plans.
Right.
Not willing to make a commitment.
Right. Oh, that one too, If you can't have any commitment talk, but...
or prioritization.
Right. But this comes with time too. Like if that person is not able to have a commitment talk with you within the first weeks of dating, that's okay. Maybe that person just doesn't know.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a red flag.
Right.
It's not that they're necessarily being avoidant. They just may not be sure.
Right. But then if that person is not talking about a long-term commitment with you within some months. Yeah, here's the exit sign. You should leave.
Yeah. Or even if you're just wanting to get a gauge on what they're looking for in relationship, just to see if there's alignment between the two of you, and they start skirting around the question.
Yeah.
That is kind of a bit of a warning sign there that either, well, they don't know themselves well enough, they don't know what they want, or they're simply just really scared of the idea of even contemplating commitment.
Right. You can ask people about their beliefs on long-term partnership, and if what their thoughts are of that. That makes, like, if they say, hey, I don't ever see myself in a long-term partnership, that is a red flag to...
Well, that's a giant red flag.
Yeah, that's I'm being so... I'm like, that's a red flag. You're like, no, that's a stop sign. That's not a flag. That's like, hold up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so...
flashing.
Yeah. Also people's beliefs on, sometimes you can, this might be like a little indirect, but someone who, like, how do people feel about grounding themselves, right? Like, it doesn't have to be in a location, but it could be like, I want to pursue something long term with, maybe it involves like a group of people, or maybe they're working towards something like bigger. That could also seem like a long-term commitment that they're making. It doesn't have to be intimate, but that could be something that you're assessing indirectly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all different structures of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
and things like, how do you, any other kind of like...
Yeah, I think that, people who are experiencing a lot of overwhelm, they tend to kind of turn off a little bit.
Right.
So it's a lot of it's unconscious. They're not even really aware that they're doing it. It's sort of like they just kind of get flooded, and they're not able to access what they're feeling. And so that might look like, someone's just kind of blank faced, like they're just not, like, no one seems home.
And people get angry. I feel like I hear this all the time. It's like, and I told him that I wanted to leave him, and he just had this blank slate in his head. Blank slate in his face, and that person just got so upset. It's like he doesn't care. But actually, there's a lot of physiology around this, that people who have an avoidant attachment actually might not experience the emotion intensity that you do. And there are brain structures like the anterior cingulate cortex that actually might suppress emotional regulation. And so does the prefrontal cortex too. Their limbic system kind of works a little differently. So when they have that intensity of an emotion, they're not really experiencing it, or they're rationalizing it so much that this is danger, and I need to prepare for a threat. What does someone do when they prepare for a threat? Either they're panicking, or they're like in freeze mode, like complete blank slate.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it really is helpful to look at it in the way of it's a physiological response to a stressful situation.
Right.
And everyone has their own ways of reacting, right? And so even if they're not seemingly having some kind of reaction, the sort of non-reaction is its own reaction.
Right. And actually we associate that they're not feeling stressed but they are. There's actually a lot of research that they did on babies when they're forming their caregiver bond, that when the caregiver leaves the room, the baby is like completely blank slate, but actually their cortisol rose during that time. So it's not that like this person doesn't care about me, or they're not showing that they're stressed, so they didn't really care about the relationship. It's actually that they're not able to show the emotion. They're not able, just like you were saying, they're not able to access that emotion to show a response. So maybe there's some learning deficits, that also that wall that we put up, I'm feeling an emotion, can't experience it. I'm going to regulate myself.
I can't experience it because if I experience it, a part of me believes it'll completely overwhelm me.
Yes.
I won't survive it. And it's not that the person's consciously thinking it, but it's a mechanism within our psyches that steps in and goes, okay, wait, we need to put this all the way to the side. So that might look for a lot of people who lean a little bit more avoidant, and y'all know who you are.
Yeah.
You go into work.
You feel smothered. If you're feeling smothered, but this is not always the truth for every situation. If you're feeling smothered because someone says, I love you, or they give you a hug and they're like, I want to spend more time with you, and you're feeling overwhelmed, that's a big clue for you.
Right. And then just be curious of what you decide to do when you move away from those emotions. Like when you, when you're kind of overwhelmed, take a step back and just sort of look at, okay, how am I reacting to this? Am I like wanting to work? Am I wanting to like smoke weed a lot? Do I find myself just scrolling on TikTok constantly? I think that people who lean anxious or people who lean avoidant, they do sometimes have overlapping coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Like I feel like the anxious people tend to like shut down, and they actually make themselves feel sick because they don't have that oxytocin, like that bonding. They're like, the person that I was with is not answering my text messages, is not giving me that love and affection, and they actually literally like deplete their reward system, that they actually like shut down. And then the avoidant, they get so overwhelmed, their cortisol spikes, and they're like, the only thing that I can do to make myself feel better is run away. And that's what comforts them. Let me go isolate myself, not respond to this person, not even explain to them what I did, because that might even make them feel like smothered even more. Like, maybe that's why people ghost. I mean, there's many components of why people ghost, but I think a point of it is like, I have to send one more message while I'm already overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's hard. I wonder if we can maybe talk a little bit about maybe like examples in our practices where we've dealt with people that may lean a little bit more avoidant.
Yeah. So I have worked with a couple people who've had this type of attachment, and I actually call this micro vulnerabilities. It's one of the interventions that I use, and they're small, like moments that you express emotion to someone that you feel very safe with. So, for example, I would give like a homework assignment of, hey, I want you to tell your best friend that you actually don't like when they text you 10 times in a row, that it makes you feel overwhelmed, or maybe it overstimulates you because you're at work. That's me. I'm the one that texts a lot. The bubbles. So what you can do is like just having these like small glimpses of I feel statements. You're going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel wildly awkward. But the actually what you're going to do is you're going to learn that you have tolerance for these emotions. Just like you were saying before, you don't have that tolerance. Like you think the fear is going to overcome you.
That's a really lovely intervention because it really supports that person in titration. And what I mean by titration is that we do a little bit at a time to essentially increase your tolerance for distress. And it is distressing to experience emotion.
It is.
So it's understandable that people on all ends of the spectrum do their best to help mitigate that impact.
People can go numb from literally guarding themselves so much that they're like, I don't even like being in relationships anymore because I don't feel for other people. And that's like another extreme, right? But it's about allowing yourself to feel. There's a lot of cognitive distortions in avoidant attachment too. It's like when they feel smothered, they're like, I actually hate this person. Like they start convincing themselves. So, this goes for some people, right? Like they start convincing themselves, like, I hate this person. This person's like stupid, and they start making an ick list. Like, no, actually, you like this person, and that's not true because for the last maybe 6 months, you've been telling me how much you admire this person, and this person just asked you to go on a trip with them, and you got. Like there was basically an event that exacerbated your emotions. So really trying to evaluate like different situations and are you do you not like that person really? Like, or you're just trying to convince yourself that it's okay to run away. I think that's the hardest part when they start convincing themselves that it's okay to like run because I don't like that person. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that. You know, you essentially that is its own kind of defense mechanism or protective layer there of placing so much blame on the other and not really looking inwardly at your contribution to that dynamic. I mean, because it's painful to look at and to be with.
Yeah, it can be very painful to look within yourself and look at your flaws. I find that maybe it could be even easier to be like, I don't like this person because they don't run with me. And that's a lot easier than being like, no, I need to work on maybe holding very high standards for people. That might be a little harder to work on, right? That might be a little icky, right? Like, wait, maybe I'm holding people to a high standard and I don't like anybody because I'm holding these really high standards and I want people to meet them. Questions to ask yourself.
Definitely.
And it's good to like, you know, we talk about this fluidity, but it's really good to like, you can do these little micro interventions by just looking at yourself, or maybe you don't have to look at yourself, asking questions like, am I holding people to high standards? Do I create ick lists for a lot of people? Do I like analyze the crap out of people to convince them that they're not a good partner for me?
Yes, food for thought.
Food for thought. We have a buffet here.
Yeah. There's also this kind of other way that I've seen it kind of take shape where someone will conceal the truth about themselves.
Yes, I hear this so much, and this really impacts the other person.
And it impacts the person who's concealing because they're not connected to their authenticity. And that doesn't feel good to them. I mean, a lot of times they may not even have access to why it doesn't feel good. But essentially, it's a way to get other needs met. So, for example, maybe you're in an open relationship and you're meeting these other people and you kind of just fib a little bit and you don't really talk about your partner. You don't really mention that you're in an open relationship. You kind of leave it obscure so that the other person can make their assumptions and that you can be the focus of their attention. So if you just come out with the truth and say, yeah, I'm in an open relationship, I have a partner that I love very much, that person that you're talking to who's admiring you and so excited to get to know you might start to pull away, which can trigger some abandonment wounds from childhood. And so I think that's like another example of it.
That's a really great example. It made me think about how truth is so connected to internal emotions, right? Honesty, right? To be authentic is really to be yourself. And when I think about like being yourself, that's like actually like demonstrating all your emotions, like letting them be and not like repressing them. So I can see why people get stuck in that cycle, right?
Yeah,
Or
it's too revealing.
too revealing.
You might get criticized, you might get rejected,
Right. And they were saying that a lot of the avoidant attachments learned in childhood, or maybe there was experiences like, if I show these true emotions, then that person will reject me, or that person will maybe create like this negative connotation. And so what I associated is that emotions equal some type of aversive experience. And so I retreat.
Yeah, the retreating. Yeah, I think retreat is a much more helpful word than avoidant.
Yeah. I like that word.
I think it's much more empathetic.
Yeah, we should use retreat more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so some great examples of behaviors that drive avoidant attachments. I definitely think perfectionism, just like keep seeking partners that might be even better, and then like not looking at these internal flaws and like not being able to feel emotions, and then convincing yourself that this partner is not right for you really exacerbates that kind of like an avoidant attachment. Also keep telling yourself like that emotions are bad, that I don't need to feel emotions, like this belief system around emotions really can impact the avoidant attachment. And also childhood experiences can really create some root causes to why you don't really have a good relationship with emotions, or have you been rejected? Do people invalidate you? Are you in an invalidating experience now? That can also drive the root of avoidant attachments.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
let's just give like some key interventions, like really quick, just like so our viewers can have like some. We talked about micro vulnerabilities, feeling emotions. You talked about being aware of the wall, guarded. Is there anything else that like any other interventions that you would think of?
yeah, I think just starting to notice how you feel in your body can be really helpful. Maybe there's a little bit of a tightness in your chest when someone shares something vulnerable, or when they ask you a question that might feel too intrusive to you. Maybe, you feel a little fidgety. And so I think really focusing on physical sensations can be helpful in also getting a little bit closer to your emotions.
Yeah, building that tolerance.
Yeah.
For sure. So definitely have some tools in your toolbox. And so use them. Also, really try to be empathetic towards others, because at the end of the day, it's all about how we're relating to other people, how we're understanding our emotions. And we should all be gentle around that. So stay tuned, because I think we might go into the anxious attachment next episode.
Yeah.
And we thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.